Welcome to part two of this webinar series, Connecting Play and Early Childhood Letters. I'm Sarah Morrison, one of the early learning consultants in the Office of Early Learning at NCDPI. We are excited to share the information in this session with you as a continuation from part one. We will invite you to pause the recording and reflect on prompts or questions posed as we cover the material. And of course, feel free to rewatch or share this with others as often as needed. In our last session, we covered units 1 and 2, so today we march forward. As a continuation from part 1, we will discuss information from units 3 and 4 today and how key concepts from units 3 and 4 are connected to play and early learning pedagogy. We start each of our sessions with a welcoming inclusion activity. So we invite you to consider your thoughts or response to one of these prompts. And please pause the recording as you reflect on this if you desire. I am playful when I am playful, I feel. The benefits of play are. I appreciate these prompts because they remind us that play happens at all ages. Adults, too, need time to play, and when we reflect on the benefits it provides for us, it is easier to understand why it matters and is vitally important for young children. Let's begin with Unit 3 on phonological foundations. Once you begin learning about the science of reading, you cannot help but notice the abundance of PH terms. We want to unpack a few that are most relevant for pre-K and highlight their connection to play. Phonological sensitivity, the ability to hear and become sensitive to the sounds of language. Phonological sensitivity is particularly relevant to multi-language learners in preschool settings, as well as children who may have speech and language needs. When children are at play, we as teachers have the ability to utilize the 3 T's: tune in, talk more, take turns, which can intentionally support children's development of phonological sensitivity when we point out the sounds in words and of individual letters. By embedding phonological sensitivity work into children's play, it is authentically connected to their interest as well as responsive. For multi-language learners, phonological sensitivity work during play provides the modeling and practice that they need in a way that may feel less on the spot than what occurs in a whole group setting. Phonological awareness, the conscious awareness of all levels of the speech sounds, consonants and vowels, in spoken syllables, and the ability to consciously manipulate those sounds. Phonological awareness is a skill that can be taught. One of its great features is that it can be taught without the use of materials and visuals, making it perfect to incorporate into play. Teachers can intentionally tap into phonological awareness during play by providing intentional responses that facilitate phonological awareness during play conversations. For example, the teacher may join a child in the block center and have the following conversation. I see that you are building a tower. What sound do you hear at the beginning of the word tower? Yes, t is the first sound in tower. How many syllables do you hear in the word tower? Let's tap them. Ta-er. Great job tapping the syllables in the word tower. Can you think of another word that starts with the t sound, like tower? Phonological processing, the ability to understand and use the sound system of a language. It allows one to process oral language when listening and speaking, and to process written language with reading and writing. Phonological processing is used by adults and children alike across the entire school day, every day. It involves both receptive and expressive language. When teachers highlight and support phonological sensitivity and phonological awareness, they are facilitating phonological processing. Phoneme, the smallest unit of speech sound. Phoneme practice is easily incorporated into play when teachers are intentional about the conversations and questions they ask of children. For example, a teacher joins a child in the art center where the child is drawing a picture. When the teacher asks what they are creating, the child responds with, "A picture for my grandma because she is sick." The teacher can then intentionally ask, I heard you say the word sick. I am sorry your grandma is sick. Can you tell me the first sound you hear in the word sick? What about the last sound in the word sick? As other words are said in conversation, the teacher can intentionally highlight words and support language practice with phonemes. Phonemic awareness. The conscious awareness of the individual speech sounds and spoken syllables, and the ability to consciously manipulate those sounds. Phonemic awareness is taking the rigor up a notch in preschool because not all children will be ready for this during the pre-K year, but you may have some who are, and you don't want to delay engaging them in this type of literacy work. Again, play is the perfect time to practice in a way that may feel less on demand than during a whole group time. A quick example is the teacher says, Sadie, I notice you are cooking cake. May I have a piece of your, what do I want? Thank you for sharing your cake with me. Let's say the word cake together. Cake. What happens to that word if I take the k sound away? What is my new word? Alphabet, a set of letters or symbols in a fixed order used to represent the basic sounds of a language. There are a plethora of options for incorporating alphabet work into play. Alphabetic principle, the concepts that letters are used to represent individual phonemes in the spoken word. Alphabetic principle is critical for learning to read and spell. Whole group instruction is a great time to make this connection come alive for children, but it can also happen during play, particularly when children are engaged in any type of writing. If children are capturing writing as part of their play, teachers should leverage and model the connection between spoken and written language. For example, you are writing a letter to your mama. What sound do you hear at the beginning of mama? Yes, mm. What letter represents or makes the sound? Can you write that letter first? This example is both authentic and responsive. Phonics. It's easy to want to jump right into phonics with early learners. We want to be mindful that phonics is the goal, but the PH skills we have discussed here are the foundations for phonics, and we don't want to shortchange them. The great thing is many of these skills overlap and can be learned and practiced at the same time, but we don't want to rush into phonics before children are ready with a solid PH foundation. We invite you to think about ideas for incorporating PH practice and learning into your classroom centers. If you will select one center and jot down a few ideas that you come up with, and we invite you to pause here. We hope that you were able to generate some ideas. Blocks is always an area that I like to think about how to intentionally incorporate literacy skills because that center generally lends itself towards math concepts. There is a link on this slide to a Padlet that you can use to see additional ideas that others have contributed for including PH work in various centers. Please pause and capture that link if you need to. This quote speaks to the significance of the PH foundations. What it doesn't do is limit us in the way that phonological skills can be taught. We can combine intentional literacy instruction with developmentally appropriate practices, and we encourage teachers to do so at every opportunity throughout the day. Center time and even outdoor play can facilitate supporting children as they progress through the linguistic hierarchy from the word level to the phoneme level, simply by fostering intentional conversations and facilitating practice of the right skills at the right time when teachers are attuned to children's demonstration of skills. With close observation, teachers will be able to observe and document children move from epilinguistic to metalinguistic awareness across the school year. Activities during both whole group, small group, and center play can support this progression. Rhyming, syllables, alliteration, segmenting, and blending can be planned for and practiced during play. Be mindful of moving across the hierarchy and progression of skills across the entirety of the year. Pacing can be differentiated based on demonstrated skill at a given point in time. Remember that development does not happen in silos, so your intentional work on PH foundations and play activities will support development in other areas as well. So now we're going to move and shift to Unit 4, Print Knowledge ABC to XYZ. With 4 and 5-year-olds during the preschool year, children are beginning to develop a stronger understanding of the concepts of print listed here, alongside the development of the alphabet, alphabetic principle, and phonological skills discussed earlier. Recognizing print in the environment. This is print awareness in one of its earliest forms, and it is particularly aligned with the authentic experiences of many children. Think about visits to McDonald's, Walmart, Dollar General. The great thing about environmental print recognition is that it opens doors to so many additional opportunities to leverage literacy. With play, we can turn our dramatic play areas into McDonald's and Walmart, and then intentionally facilitate the addition of alphabet learning and writing, for example, by way of signage, orders, and receipts. Understanding that print carries meaning. Children begin to develop this understanding with support from adults, caregivers, and teachers. Within the context of play, teachers should seek opportunities to intentionally add this learning and understanding into their play discussions. For example, while reading a book in the library center or while supporting a child with writing their name on their artwork. Knowing that print is used for many purposes, teachers have an abundance of opportunities to capitalize on this aspect by utilizing their classroom space as a lever for engaging with print concepts. Labels is one of the most common ways that teachers support this. During play, teachers can highlight this by facilitating print experiences across all centers. For example, writing in sensory tables, reading and writing in science, even technology integration with iPads or apps like Seesaw. Experiencing print through writing. Again, teachers want to intentionally model and facilitate this type of work. With play, it is important to remember that outdoor play can include opportunities for literacy learning, including writing. A few examples include chalk or water writing, clipboards with paper, and varied writing utensils, alongside a teacher that is actively engaged with them. So we invite you to pause the recording and jot down your responses and thoughts to the questions posted on this slide. We hope that you were able to generate thoughtful reflections on your current practice. We know that there are many great ideas out there that you are already doing to support print knowledge in your classrooms. We want to continue to encourage you to develop ways to facilitate and incorporate it across the day and during play. Don't isolate it to whole group or small group instruction. It lives there too, but with a whole child focus, we know to go beyond that. The statements that you see on this slide are from NAEYC's publication titled Developmentally Appropriate Practice in Early Childhood Programs, 4th edition. Each statement from NAEYC suggests teacher behaviors to support and enhance playful literacy learning. LETRS Early Childhood, Unit 4, Session 10, suggests that teachers create opportunities for helping young children become writers, and play is an opportunity for that learning. This learning is accomplished through modeling conventional adult writing, encouraging children to write, facilitating name writing and tracing, guiding children with opportunities for scribbling, forming mock letters, writing random letter strings, and semi-phonetic spelling. In predicting literacy success, an optimal benchmark for letter name knowledge at the end of preschool to the beginning of kindergarten is knowing 18 uppercase letter names, 15 lowercase letter names, and a few letter sounds. Achieving a semi-phonetic level of writing is an appropriate benchmark for children leaving preschool and going into kindergarten. Additionally, research reveals that developing an understanding of the alphabetic principle requires children to have these two skill sets: phonemic awareness and letter knowledge. Now, we invite you to read each of the statements from NAEYC on this slide and consider how you are currently creating alphabet learning experiences or setting your classroom environment to help integrate alphabet learning with developmentally appropriate play in your classroom. This quote speaks to the significance of reading and writing as partners as we help develop early literacy skills in our preschoolers. So, we invite you to reflect on your instructional practices, the school program or your program as a whole, and how are you building on the understanding this quote is speaking to. Purposeful and playful writing experiences can be integrated into classroom routines naturally and authentically. Consider how you can use sign up sheets, encourage post it note messaging, engage children in drawing or labeling objects in the classroom, and using outdoor areas to make writing fun and purposeful. Children's writing development is fully supported in developmentally appropriate ways when the environment is used as a vehicle for learning. Labeling dramatic play props and the actions that accompany them prompts children to use these words in verbally communicating their thoughts and ideas during play, and it contributes to use of the labels as a reference for writing. A carefully prepared environment coupled with engagement and modeling changes visual exposure to print into meaningful interaction with it. Young children's interest in writing during their early stages of exploratory scribbling and deciphering alphabetic principles can be nurtured by encouraging children to talk about their play. These conversations can serve as the impetus for written communication. Whenever possible, teachers should show children how the words used orally look when written by assisting them in composing messages, leaving notes, or creating signs to inform others about their play. This assistance spans from offering encouragement to serving as scribe and should always ensure that activities remain self initiated and child directed. Teachers' unobtrusive support of children's writing abilities during play extends their knowledge of print and encourages their view of themselves as authors. Regardless of a child's developmental level, always encourage children to write, always model the use of end punctuation, and always read aloud the completed sentences written as part of writing instruction. Most of all, explore ways to engage children in developmentally appropriate writing experiences that create collective effervescence. Research on collective effervescence primarily focuses on how shared experiences during group gatherings, often involving routines, can create a heightened sense of connection, belonging, and emotional safety among children, leading to feelings of unity and accomplishment, as originally described by sociologist Emile Durkheim. Studies show that shared emotions, creating a sense of belonging and a sense of security, contribute to collective effervescence. Finding joy and playfulness in learning is a key to success. Making your preschool classroom and program effervescent begins with the basics of developmentally appropriate practices. Meet children where they are as individuals and as a group. Guide each child to meet challenging and achievable goals. The cornerstone is to teach intentionally. Play is how children explore their worlds, build ideas, and imagine. Be effervescent and guide intentional, playful learning with the children in your classroom and program. So, when we're children, we express ourselves freely. We play, we create, we love unconditionally, and we place few judgments on ourselves or other people. Knowing the critical importance of connecting play and foundational literacy learning in your classroom is powerful for all early childhood educators. Take a moment to engage in a traffic light reflection from today's learning on connecting play to early childhood letters. Please pause the recording and write down your response to one of the traffic light questions. Thank you for taking the time to reflect on how the content from this session will impact your knowledge and instructional practice. We have an additional resource we would like to share and encourage you to share it as well. Use the QR code or short link to access an additional document with ideas and information in support of today's content. We thank you for taking the time to view this session and wish you well on your literacy journey.